Welcome to this watercolor painting video where we will paint a serene sailboat on the sea. The sketch needed for this painting is given here and the link to this sketch is given in the description. You can download the image from that link. I start by sticking the masking tape on a waste watercolor paper. I sketch the sail on the masking tape and then cut the sketch along the pencil mark. I peel the masking tape from that cutout paper and then stick it on the watercolor paper where I am going to paint. I tilt the board to a 30-degree angle by placing an object below the board. Next, I stick the masking tape over the horizon and then I start to do gradient wash. For that, I first wet the sky portion of the paper. Then using cobalt blue mixed with vermilion hue, I start to paint the top portion of the sky. As I move down the paper, I dip the brush in a container of clean water. This will dilute the color on my brush, creating a transition from dark to light. I continue this process until I reach the horizon. Here, I gently run the brush against the wall of the container to squeeze out excess water from the brush. After finishing the gradient wash, I found that the background is not dark enough for the sailboat to stand out. So I'm doing the gradient wash for the second time. After finishing the gradient wash, using a waste cloth, I wipe the excess water that is collected near the tape. And then I allowed the paper to dry completely. After the sky portion is completely dry, I remove the masking tape from the horizon. Then I rotate the board upside down. Now the board is in 30-degree angle and again I'm going to do a gradient wash for the sea. I'm using the same pigments which I use for painting the sky. I'm doing gradient wash for the second time on the sea portion of the paper. After painting the sea portion, wipe the excess water that is collected near the tape. Allow the paper to completely dry and then move to the next step. Rotate the board and start to paint the distant island. I mixed Viridian green with Naples yellow and little amount of brown color which is on the palette to create this distant island. After painting the distant island, we are going to create the reflection of sail on the water. This is done by using lifting technique. My paper is completely dry and I'm using lifting technique, that is, I lift the paint using a damp brush. I gently stroke on the area where I want to remove the color. After lifting the paint, I wash the brush in the water and press it against a waste cloth to make the brush damp. And again I go over the paper to lift the paint. This process is repeated until required output is achieved. After using lifting technique, allow the paper to dry completely because we have used damp brush on the watercolor paper, so it has to dry completely before going to the next step. Next, I again wet the sea portion of the paper. I wetted on the area where I lifted the color. I'm going to paint the ripples on the seawater. While painting the ripples, be careful not to paint inside the area where we have lifted the paint. The ripples are larger when it is nearer to the viewer. When we move to the distance, the size of the ripple gets smaller. I'm using indigo color to paint the ripples. After painting the ripples, allow the paper to dry completely. Then remove the masking tape sticked on the sail. Next, we are going to paint the boat using vermilion hue. For the darkest part of the boat, I used indigo color. Now I'm adding the reflection of the boat on the water. For that I used vermilion hue. To paint the sailboat, I used light value of brown color. I lighten the value of that brown color when I move from left to right. And the right edge of the sail is in paper white. So there is an even transition of light brown to paper white. This is to show the sail is bent because of the wind. This painting has a lot of steps to follow. However, we have used fun techniques to paint this beautiful scene. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. See you in another video. Until then, take care and bye bye from Prema.